All right, so get ready, everyone, because we are diving into a true crime mystery that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat.
Oh, I love a good mystery.
Yeah, so we're looking into the disappearance of Cindy Vanderbeek.
Huh?
She was 47 years old when she vanished.
Hmm.
And we're basing this deep dive on a podcast episode that really goes deep on this case.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it spanned like a whole decade.
Wow, a decade.
So many twists and turns.
I bet, yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable.
You know what else I think is so interesting about this case?
What's that?
It's not just the mystery itself, it's the detective.
Detective Bob Nichols.
Yeah, exactly.
He was incredibly dedicated to this case.
Yeah, he picked it up when no one else would touch it.
Right.
Like, talk about a needle in a haystack.
I mean, especially because Cindy disappeared while she was traveling with her husband
Oh, wow.
on the boat show circuit,
Okay.
and no one could figure out where she vanished from.
So was she last seen in Maine, Maryland, Florida, or somewhere in between?
Exactly. They just couldn't pinpoint it.
And I imagine back then it must have been even harder.
Oh, absolutely. This was the mid-90s.
Right.
So no GPS, cell phone use was limited.
Yeah.
Detective Nichols had to piece together a timeline
Oh.
from, like, mountains of receipts.
Oh my gosh, that's got to be
It's crazy.
so tedious and time-consuming.
But those receipts held some pretty crucial clues.
Like what?
Well, they actually placed Steve, her husband,
Uh-huh.
at a hotel with Cindy, and then just days later,
Yeah.
he was alone hundreds of miles away.
Okay, now that's suspicious.
Yeah, a huge red flag.
Right, if you were really worried about your missing spouse,
Right.
you'd report it right away.
Exactly. And the search area was massive.
How big are we talking?
Over 500 miles
Wow.
of rural mountainous terrain
Oh my God.
between New York and West Virginia.
So it's no wonder the detective had to think outside the box.
He really did. He even started searching for Jane Doe matches in other states.
That's smart. Yeah, you had to get creative.
He knew finding Cindy in that kind of terrain was a long shot. Right.
So he focused on potential leads elsewhere.
That makes sense.
And then 7 years into the investigation, there's a glimmer of hope.
Really, what happened?
A skull was found in New York.
Okay.
And by this point, DNA technology was becoming more prevalent in forensics.
Oh, right. Did they finally get a break in the case?
Well, they ran the tests.
Yeah.
And sadly, it wasn't Cindy.
Oh, man, that's disappointing.
I know, but Detective Nichols just wouldn't give up.
That's good.
He even kept the case with him when he switched assignments.
Wow, he wouldn't let it go.
He just had this feeling, you
That
know.
something wasn't right.
Exactly.
That's persistence right there. It really is, and his gut feeling was spot on.
Okay, I'm hooked. What happened next?
Well, he decided to track down Steve's previous girlfriend,
Interesting.
and what she revealed was truly chilling.
Oh no, what did she say?
She described a history of violence in their relationship and even said that Steve had threatened her once, saying, quote,
Okay.
"I've done this before and I'll do it again."
That is chilling.
I know, right?
So that definitely puts Steve in a whole new light.
Absolutely. Those suspicions about his involvement just became even stronger.
Yeah.
Armed with this new information,
Uh-huh.
Detective Nichols decided to confront Steve.
Okay.
He actually lured him back to Maryland.
How did he do that?
Well, he was pretty clever. He even put photos of Cindy in the interview room.
Ooh, psychological tactics.
Exactly, hoping to elicit some kind of reaction.
Did it work?
Well, Steve was really savvy,
Okay.
stuck to his story, downplayed any inconsistencies,
Oh, wow.
and even challenged the detective to find Cindy's body.
Oh, so he's basically saying, if you can't find a body, you can't prove anything.
Exactly.
That's a bold move.
And that's when things took another unexpected turn.
What happened?
Well, remember, this was the time when the internet was really taking off.
Right, the dot-com boom.
Exactly, and Detective Nichols stumbled upon this website called the Doe Network.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's dedicated to identifying missing persons and unidentified remains.
It's all volunteer run, right?
It is. It's incredible.
It really is. What a fantastic resource.
And wouldn't you know,
What?
a Doe Network volunteer reached out to Detective Nichols.
Really? With what?
A possible match.
For Cindy.
A woman's remains had been found in a makeshift grave in Pennsylvania
Wow, when was this?
back in 1995.
Okay, so that falls within the time frame.
Exactly. It was almost too perfect.
Wow, what are the chances?
Right. And there was another detail that linked the victim to the boat show circuit.
What was that?
She was wearing a shirt
Yeah.
from a hook and tackle shop.
No way, that's too much of a coincidence.
But there was a problem, a major one.
What was it?
The remains were estimated to belong to a woman in her late teens or early 20s.
Oh, wow. That's way off from Cindy's age.
Right. It was a huge discrepancy.
That could have easily thrown them off the trail.
Absolutely. But Detective Nichols had a hunch.
What did he do?
He sent the Doe Network photo to Cindy's sister.
Okay.
And her reaction was immediate.
Really? What did she say?
She said, "That's Cindy."
Wow, just like that.
Yep, she recognized her instantly.
That's incredible. Sometimes those gut feelings are stronger than any scientific estimation.
You really are.
So what happened next?
Well, they needed to confirm the identification for sure.
Right, so DNA testing?
They used Cindy's mother's DNA,
Okay.
and it was a match.
Wow, so after 10 long years, they finally found her.
It was a bittersweet victory for sure.
I can only imagine.
Closure for the family, but also heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Knowing that she's really gone.
And now the investigation shifted to Pennsylvania.
Right.
But Detective Nichols had a decade's worth of information on Steve.
Yeah.
Would it be enough to finally bring him to justice?
Ooh, that's the question, isn't it?
It is.
All right, now I need to know what happens next.
Well, let's just say Detective Nichols knew Steve better than Steve thought he did.
Oh, this is getting good.
It is.
I can't wait to hear the...
Remember that pizza place, the one Steve was always at?
Yeah, he practically lived there.
That's where Detective Nichols sent the U.S. Marshals.
Smart.
Yeah, and guess what?
What?
They had him in custody within an hour.
Wow. Talk about knowing your suspect.
It shows just how well Detective Nichols understood Steve.
After all those years.
I know, right?
So what happened when they brought him in?
Well, they confronted him with all the evidence.
Yeah.
And Steve's carefully crafted story started to crumble.
Oh, so he confessed.
He did. He admitted to killing Cindy, but claimed it was self-defense.
Of course he said that.
He said she attacked him first.
But if it was truly self-defense,
Right.
why run?
And lie for a decade.
Exactly. It just doesn't add up.
It definitely casts doubt on his version of events.
So what were the charges?
They were looking at first-degree murder, third-degree murder, and aggravated assault.
Wow, those are serious.
But the case never went to trial.
Oh, why not?
Steve took a plea deal.
Plea bargains are always a tough one.
They are.
You know, you get a conviction, but sometimes it feels like justice isn't fully served.
I agree, especially in a case like this with so much history and emotion.
Exactly.
But in the end, Steve pleaded guilty to third-degree homicide
Okay.
and received a 15-year sentence.
Did he serve all of it?
He did.
It does bring a sense of closure, but I can't imagine what Cindy's family went through.
I know, 10 years of uncertainty, and then to finally have answers.
But also to know that the justice system can't truly bring their loved one back.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is, but their strength throughout this whole ordeal.
It's truly inspiring.
They never gave up hope.
And neither did Detective Nichols.
He could have easily moved on,
I know.
but he didn't.
He kept Cindy's memory alive.
He's a good one.
And the Doe Network, they played such a crucial role.
Absolutely. Their volunteers are amazing.
It makes you think about all those other unsolved cases out there.
Yeah.
Just waiting for that one connection.
The right person at the right time.
And we can't forget about advancements in technology.
Yeah. Especially DNA testing.
Right. Imagine trying to solve a case like this back then.
It would have been so much harder.
It really highlights how far we've come in forensic science.
But even with all the technology and detective work,
Yeah.
this case also shows how unpredictable life can be.
Like those random events that can completely change the course of an investigation.
Like what?
Well, think about the state trooper stumbling upon that makeshift grave.
Yeah.
Or the Doe Network volunteer reaching out at just the right time.
It's crazy how these things happen.
And even Detective Nichols' intuition about where to find Steve.
It's like it was meant to be.
It really is, like a twist of fate.
So as we dive deeper into this story,
Yeah.
what stands out to you the most?
What do you think our listeners should really take away from this?
For me, it's the importance of never giving up hope,
Yeah.
even when it seems like all hope is lost.
When years have gone by, the leads have dried up.
There's always a chance for the truth to come out.
And Detective Nichols is a perfect example of that.
You never lost sight of that.
He could have moved on to other cases.
Yeah, but he didn't.
He kept pushing forward, always believing that this mystery could be solved.
It's truly remarkable.
And it reminds us that justice often requires that unwavering dedication, that belief that even the most complex cases can be cracked.
And even amidst all the darkness in the world,
Right.
there are people like Detective Nichols who dedicate their lives to seeking justice, bringing solace, and ensuring that the stories of those who have been silenced are never forgotten.
He's a true hero in this story. You know, it's so easy to get caught up in all the details of the investigation,
Yeah.
but we have to remember that behind all of this, there's a human story.
Right. A real person.
Cindy Vanderbeek was a daughter, a sister, a wife.
And her life was cut way too short.
And for her family, they had to endure a decade
A decade.
of not knowing what happened to her.
That's unimaginable.
It really is. I mean,
It's just a reminder that these cases, they're not just abstract puzzles.
Yeah.
They involve real people, real lives that are forever changed by violence and loss.
and for Cindy's family, getting that confirmation of her death, it
Yeah.
must have been such a mix of emotions.
I bet, like relief,
Yeah, closure,
but also just crushing sorrow.
that she's really gone.
Yeah, it's that realization that really hits you.
And then on top of all that grief,
Yeah,
they had to deal with the legal system,
right.
the plea bargains, the sentencing.
It's a process that can feel so cold,
It can.
even when justice is served.
You know, we strive for fairness, but
Yeah.
the legal system is still a human construct.
It has its limitations.
Absolutely. And no verdict can truly heal the wounds left behind by a tragedy like this.
I agree.
But there were moments of human connection throughout this whole thing.
Oh, like what?
Well, Detective Nichols, even though he wasn't directly involved in the Pennsylvania investigation,
Right.
he stayed in touch with Cindy's family.
Oh, that's nice.
He was even there at her memorial service.
Wow.
And he shared all the details about his efforts to find her.
That's amazing. That really shows how much he cared.
He went above and beyond.
Yeah, he did.
You know, this deep dive has really taken us on a journey.
It has.
From the initial shock of Cindy's disappearance
Right.
to all the dead ends and frustrations,
Yeah.
and the emergence of new technology, the Doe Network,
The tireless work of those volunteers.
and finally that bittersweet resolution.
It's a powerful story. It really is.
It reminds us about human resilience,
The importance of hope
never giving up.
and that justice is possible, even when it seems impossible.
So as we wrap up,
Yeah.
what's the one message you want to leave our listener with?
That's a good question.
What's that one thing that'll stick with them?
I think it's this. Every case, every life is a story waiting to be told,
Yeah.
to be understood and remembered.
And Cindy's story shows us how interconnected our actions are.
The ripple effects of good and bad.
And sometimes even the smallest acts of kindness can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder to cherish our loved ones, appreciate how fragile life is.
And never underestimate the power of hope
Perseverance.
and the unwavering pursuit of justice.
It's inspiring, really.
It is, and, maybe someone listening right now
Yeah.
will be inspired to join the ranks of those who dedicate their lives to solving these mysteries.
To seeking answers, to bringing comfort to those who have lost so much.
I hope so.
That's a powerful thought.
We can all make a difference.
Whether it's volunteering our time, supporting organizations like the Doe Network.
Just being more aware of the stories around us.
And on that note,
Yeah,
that's a wrap on another deep dive.
it's been a pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those minds churning.
Absolutely.